All right, let me do my intro.
Okay.
Hey, this is Tyler with TJack Survival. I'm here with some of the people from the Alone Show. I've been very privileged to make it down to Rabbitstick to ask them some questions. Hopefully I can hit all the topics and things that you want to know. So stay tuned. Did I stutter?
No.
All right.
Like a lot of 13-year-old girls who they wouldn't answer, like Lucas wouldn't answer them in their messages, so they started going to me like, hey, could you get Lucas for me?
That's horrible but hilarious.
He's 20 years older than you.
All right, guys, so I kind of wanted to give these people, guys and girls, an opportunity to share with you some of the behind-the-scene things that they wish you knew. So I'm going to try to ask some questions about how they prepared, some of the knives and equipment that they used, and some stories, and just kind of let this flow.
Great.
All right.
Awesome.
So let's start out with this. Anyone that wants to answer this, what's something that happened that got edited out that you wish you could have shared with people? Shared, is that a word?
Yeah.
So what's something that you did that got chopped out that you're like, oh man, they took that out. I wish that could have been shared.
Wow, who wants to go first? I'm sure we all got stories.
Gosh, there's a million of them.
Yeah, well, it's something that everybody has, because like I heard some guys say, well, they only use 50% of their footage. I would be surprised if they use 1% of the footage.
Yeah,
that I
50%,
like
you're kidding me.
literally 1% of it.
Yeah.
Like I filmed walking through the forest and climbing up bluffs and like walking through the river and fording, and none of it gets on film. So
Yeah. Was there any
people like the show. So
Did
it's
you
good.
build anything?
I got something
Yeah.
from day 2.
Yeah.
So we were allowed 2 pairs of underwear, and I brought one to be 100%
Did they,
cotton
like, check
jockey
you?
shorts. Oh, they
Yeah,
did. They
2
checked
pairs of
us.
underwear.
They checked us. Oh, we had thoroughly searched before. We
Was
went
it a strip search for you guys or just a pat down?
on. It wasn't a full strip search. No.
Really?
No.
Just got lucky.
Oh,
Lucky
you must have just liked me. Just kidding. No, it's pat down. Just kidding.
So one of the things I did on day 2 was we were allowed 2 pairs of underwear, and I brought 1 pair of wool underwear and 1 pair of cotton jockey shorts that I decided I was going to use for char cloth. But they didn't let us bring Altoids tins to put our fishing gear in this year because
They're
Mitch
cheating.
made char
Because
cloth.
we weren't
Used
supposed
that
to use
last
it,
year.
and then someone used it, and then now it's against the rules.
Now it's banned. So no, nothing against you, Mitch. It was a good use of
Yeah,
of an Altoids
absolutely.
tin.
Definitely against the rules, but very, love.
So
love
we
to
weren't
all.
allowed to bring in a tin, so I wanted to make char cloth right away. And so I brought those second pair of underwear specifically to make char cloth with. And then I got there and I thought, well, what am I going to use to make char cloth? So I found some really great clamshells that fit together well. And I made char cloth,
See, that's just epic.
right
That's really cool.
in the coals,
Yeah.
weighted down, stripped it up and put it in the shells, and then weighted it with rocks, and I made some really great char cloth. So I had char cloth going from day 2, which was really nice.
Well, flint and steel fire is basically you take a piece of steel that's been tempered correctly. It's a high carbon steel that's been tempered correctly, and you take a hard rock. They say a hardness of 7 or greater. Basically, I've never seen a rock that was stamped with a 7 on it. So basically, you just have to know what
There's
you're
the
looking
chips.
for. Right.
Yeah.
You just got to know what you're looking for. You can look at the properties and stuff, and you can just try it. And if you scrape or bang the rock against the steel, it actually slices a little tiny piece of that steel off, and when it hits the oxygen, it turns into a spark, approximately 800 degrees. And that spark is not hot enough to light most substances, so you need to char a material, which basically you take a tin, it's not 100% airproof, but it's...
Make some sparks. That's a good kit.
Oh, is it?
That's my personal kit.
Oh, nice. So the char
Pretty
cloth
much
has been carbonized, so you can make sparks like this.
Oh, you do it the other way.
Oh, I was just going to say that. I do
Or
the opposite.
Or you can do it like this. If I use charred punk wood in a container like this, I rain sparks down on it because it's easier that way for me. If I have a piece of char cloth, I'll put it under my thumb and go up like this. But those sparks will land on that, I don't know how else to say it, carbonized type material, which has will sit there and ember and smolder and give you a nice ember that won't go out unless you smother it with oxygen or put water on it. And then you can transfer that to your tinder bundle, a nice fluffy mass of material, bone dry material, and blow it into flames.
Alright guys, what's some stuff that you did that you wish people would have known about?
How much time you got?
I got until my battery dies.
I agree with the 1% rule. I mean, I was
filmed it.
I went out there, and all I set out to film, literally all that mattered to me that I set out to film was skills, and that's what I was filming every day.
So,
just a catalog of skills.
I have to say, I'm watching your show, right? You show up, and then I see you making the straw.
Oh, the fire blower?
And I see all this stuff behind you.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I'm getting excited. I'm like, I'm going to see smoked meat. I'm going to see all these things. And I watch, and I'm like, I want to kill Hollywood. That's just me.
Me too.
So I didn't mean to cut you off, but it made me excited with that story.
That's me too. I mean, I was doing stuff, and a lot of stuff was semi-conventional. Like I was doing, say, conventional stuff. I was making bar containers out of cedar bark, which was late in the season. It took me a lot of work to get a couple of slabs of cedar bark out and make some nice bark. Nobody did. But there they were in some scenes. If you look at it, they're behind me grind. No, but a couple of projects that, to not make it too long, that when I filmed them, I was sure they were going to show them. For one thing, I set up my gill net with a pulley system. I waited for the first big moon tide to set my gill net as deep as possible. And I had my gill net, from what I've seen from the other participants, the deepest of anybody, which means it was underwater for the most amount of hours a day. And yet I could retrieve it from top of some rocks. If it's not full tide, like 3/4 tide or lower, I would retrieve my net from the dry without even getting my toes wet, get my fish, and deploy it again through a pulley system. And I was sure they were going to show that. And I was getting fish every day just about. The longest I went without fish was 3 days, and that was exceptional. Normally, every day or every other day, I had normally 2 fish, sometimes 3, sometimes 4. All in all, I must have caught more than 70, 75 fish or so in all different kinds of sizes. And if you see maybe 2 fish, me catching 2 fish, that's all you see. It's like, hey, well, where's all the other stuff? I was eating every day.
Yeah.
The problem is it's not very calorie rich. So
yeah,
that's the problem. And the other one, talking about catching fish, I modified a trap. That's another one. I was filming it, and I was saying, oh man, if this thing works, they're going to show it for sure. I modified a trap that I saw in a day in Montana for small predatory birds, like kestrels. And basically it was like a small rock, square rock, chipped a couple of notches in it to accommodate like a cross of string, and then a string going upwards, and I put a head of a fish in there. And now on top of the head of a fish, 4 snares, and on each one of the cross pieces another 4 snares. That's 20 snares. And I deployed this, and when I took it back, the very first time I took him out, I got 1 crab, and I had snared the fish.
Yeah.
Like snaring a fish. I never even heard of that, of snaring a fish.
See, that would
like
be so awesome to see.
And I filmed this, and I was all enthusiastic about it, and I was thinking, man, they're going to show that. I've never even heard, when it's rare. I like trapping. I teach some trapping here too. It's very rare that you come across a set that hasn't been, invented already, and probably somebody's done it. But I honestly, I don't know. Have you seen something like that? I've never seen it.
Never.
I've never seen it. I've seen this to catch kestrels in a little cage with a mouse in there, and the top of the cage is full of snares. And the kestrel will go there and try to catch the mouse, and immediately gets caught. Well, I was catching crabs quite often with that, and the first time a crab and a fish, then nobody saw it. Yeah, there's a long list of other stuff that wasn't shown, but every one of us said that, really.
I mean, yep.
Yeah.
I think 1%. Give me a story.
I think 1%.
Yeah. Which one do you want to hear?
I want the coolest one. What did you do? What happened?
Make.
Yes.
Well, one of the things, and you can only catch like 1 second of it, was a rock fishware. Mm-hmm. I wanted to take the knowledge that I had in my head and things like he's talking about that you've never seen before, and you want to put them into application. then on top of that, try to show honor to the people that have taught me and those before us. So I wanted to try some of those techniques and just try to meld them all together and find, what works best. I went out there and I ton of calories. I made a rock fishware, and you only catch it in like one glance as I'm walking out to look at the black mussel bed.
That's horrible.
And it was hours spent of me lugging these rocks and making this fishware.
Kind of explain a little bit what that is. I know
Sure.
know what they are. I'm afraid people are going to ask me what specifically this is. I always call them fish gardens.
Yeah. Well, what I did, it's a tidal fishware. And what I did is you have a beach that comes around like this, and the beach I had was laden with rocks. Well, I took those rocks and actually made a teardrop, or almost like a teardrop shape, or a hoop or a loop or whatever you want to call it. And it's deeper down in the bottom, so when the tide comes in, the fish come in and they go safe, and they go down and hang out around those rocks. And as the tide goes out, then they're trapped down in there, and you go out and you recover those fish.
You just like spear them. How'd you get them out?
You could pick them right up.
Nice.
And take them on up. All the fish that I caught from the net to the fishware, only about this long. I was getting a lot of the little eels that were out there. They love hanging around the rocks, and I ate several of those. Turning over the rocks, I'd find those, as well as they'd come back in and hang out around those rocks. So it was nice. There were things, carving stuff, and little odds and ends that we'd make just to occupy our time, that you would hope would make it on there. But, like I don't mean to beat the horse, but you have 24 hours in a day. We spend probably 8 to 10 hours of it filming. Even if we're not really doing anything, we just leave a camera running. And then by the time it makes it, to the cutting room floor, they probably have it down to 10 minutes of all that we did for the whole week.
Yeah.
Not let alone 24 hours.
You lose a lot of the really good content
In a day. Yeah, you lose a lot of stuff.
Got any more stories for me, Sam?
They cut out a lot of really good jokes for me. People never talk about that. Because I was doing, and there was also I caught a salmon and I fished the river for salmon, and I fell in the river and dried out my clothes and all that stuff. And I thought I made it dramatic enough for TV, but I guess I didn't. So that didn't make the cut. But I told this joke where I was eating a mouse, and I said, you should never underestimate mice, because there was a mouse one time who moved himself and all of his family, including his wife, down to Orlando and started a multi-billion-dollar corporation, and it changed the whole world. So,
Awesome.
I don't know why they didn't put that in there.
Well, you know what?
I got get sued.
Sam, put us out there on your webpage. A top 10 joke
Oh,
list that you
yeah.
had.
Oh, yeah.
Top 10?
Oh,
Top
yeah.
10.
Yeah, there was some good stuff on there.
Top 10.
Yeah, well,
drop it
maybe.
and I'll leave a
Actually,
link for it.
probably not. There's probably 3 good ones, and the other 7 will be good to me.
All my jokes are only good to me.
Right,
So we're
and
better than that.
the animals, too, right?
Yeah. Well, I had a squirrel that I named Bob, and he was, as soon as I hit the shoreline and I walked up in the woods, Bob the squirrel was sitting on my camera gear. And I was like, hey, Bob. I said, Bob the squirrel, everybody, and I've got him on video. Well, Bob spent every day running around me. So, at first I was thinking, oh, yeah, I'm taking Bob to dinner. And then Bob became such a friend that, I didn't want to hurt Bob. I even, was throwing pine cones out there for him to take back to his little...
Larry kills his friends and eats them.
Yeah, Larry has their little friends.
I don't have friends.
I wonder...
Dining companions.
I have beings that I use for my own personal gain every once in a while.
Right.
I don't know, will they let you in Disney World now?
I am banned.
Or not?
First lifetime ban they've ever given out.
Yeah. Got a picture of him in the front. You see this guy, don't let him in.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, you'd think they could use a better picture. It's black and white.
Yeah.
Stupid.
I think one of the things that I wish they'd show more of is the variety of food eaten. If you look at, I only ate a few greens apparently, and And
Salmon.
and only salmon. And I caught 5 salmon the whole time. But
And how many
seemed
did
like
you let
all
go?
I ate. One. That one is gonna nab me forever. But
One.
it's not reasonable to make a 24/7 fire smoker for 1 salmon. I smoked one in the beginning, and it just wasn't worth it to do it for the rest. It's really moist up there. But I ate 26 species of food. Like, I was mostly eating from the intertidal. You know, most of my food was coming from there, or fishing on lines.
like
You know,
fish
fishing
and-
on trot lines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They didn't
so-
show anybody how they set up their trot lines.
No. they didn't
About the
show it.
difficulty of trying to make sure that the tide didn't just make your little stick just go bloop,
Yeah.
you know, right
How's
straight
that
up.
again?
Bloop, bloop. You have to carry these big heavy rocks and the amount of
How we
effort.
weighted things and
Yeah.
I made spinners. One thing I
Yeah,
found
I
was
made spinners too.
yeah, like how we
An
did that.
abalone
and-
shell on there and pieces of aluminum I put on the end of the, you know.
Well,
end
I
of
was
the shell.
using the kelp that floats and using it as bobbers
Oh
to
yeah.
chuck out there
Yeah.
for when the tide was going out, so it would take my line out. And they never showed that. You know,
Yeah.
it's just
I used a piece of styrofoam as a bobber. I found like a little bobber thing. Yeah, there's all sorts of different techniques we were all using. I mean,
I think it would have been interesting to see more of
yeah,
that.
So
absolutely.
how many ways did you use to fish? I mean, I know you guys talked to me a little bit earlier about people asking you questions. Like, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? Talk to me,
Yeah.
Nicole. Tell me about your stories.
Oh boy, there's so many of those. Yeah, I mean, I think for me also the thing about the bears. People always ask, why did you run from the bear? Well, I didn't.
Because it's a bear.
I didn't run from the bear. As Jose always likes to say, I lived with lions for 10 years in Africa. I don't
just
run
doesn't
from
carry a
predators.
gun, which is crazy.
Yeah.
No, it's funny how they go out of their way to edit it to make it look that way. Yeah, like it's so important that you're afraid.
Yeah.
Seems like.
But I definitely, it's important for me for me, nature awareness, bird language, tracking, like people often think of those as soft skills, but I think those are some of the most important skills you can have out there. Knowing what the
Can you
birds are
define
saying.
what that is so people
Sure. So bird language, the language of the birds. The birds are gossiping all the time in the woods. They'll tell you absolutely everything that's going on. So if you listen to what they're saying and are able to interpret that language, you know everything that's going on around you. So you don't have to be always looking over your shoulder or anything like that because the birds are telling you that there's a cougar over there, right? The birds are telling you where the bears are. The birds are telling you everything. The minks coming by. Everything is going
chatter at
on.
'em.
They're chattering about it, and the squirrels. The whole forest is talking. So if you can tune into that, and then have that awareness around you,
what
when
does
you're
it take to learn how to do that?
it's very simple. I think the concept is that something like bird language is a very difficult thing to learn what the birds are saying, but actually it's quite a simple thing.
Pay attention.
Yeah, paying attention. You can, there's a book out about it called What the Robin Knows by John Young. You can go to his website, birdlanguage.com. But you can, I learned it living in Africa where I had to know if there was a leopard there or if there was a snake there. If there was a black mamba in the grass, I need to know where that is. And the birds will tell you exactly what it is, and they have different patterns. If it's a cat going through, they'll do a different call from if there's dogs running by and they're popping up like popcorn. And so you can listen to these different calls and tune into that. Once you start tuning into that language, it's not very difficult to follow. People
that's
have been
basically
doing
better
it for
protecting.
thousands and thousands of
Yeah.
years.
that'll work great.
That's excellent. So fishing, you were saying you got some questions about people wanting to know why didn't you do this kind of fishing or that kind of fishing?
Everyone assumed I only caught salmon in a gill net, and that's all
Okay.
I did. Yeah, but if I had only caught 5 salmon the whole time, I would have starved. Right?
It's a perfect question. Like, I only saw you eat mice.
Well, it's because I was the most theatrical when I was eating mice. Who doesn't
What
want to
else
watch
did
that on
you do?
TV?
I mean, I know a lot of
Yeah.
people I'm assuming the people on my channel are going to want to know the survival techniques so that they can know that they exist and
Yeah.
then go out and get education on them. Like, what would you suggest if you didn't want to just eat mice? What are some of the other things that you use?
Out there, I was kind of struggling at first because, like, the first couple days, I wanted to fast a little bit, but I also wanted to get the lay of the land and just sort of get in sync with everything. But basically what I learned the first couple days is that, holy cow, this is not like any other place that I've ever been, and it never stops raining, and that's a bummer. But for me, it wasn't a matter of like crafting cool stuff, because at sort of my age, like that was 2 years ago for me. So that was like I had just kind of almost started learning about bushcraft and these primitive or ancestral skills, and I think that for me it was just keeping it simple. So you can eat a full meal every single day with crabs, and by tipping over rocks, and catching, you know, the small little minnows that were there and the eels. Like that could be a pot of food a day out there. It's just really not very fun to watch on television.
Yeah.
Tipping over rocks every day. Oh, look, there's more food.
What would you suggest if someone's going to go to a location like that? How can they prepare? Like, what are some skills? Where would you point them and say, go learn this, go take this, go understand this, then go?
Well, a good place to start, I would say, is to find a location where there's like a bunch of really friendly people who are teaching classes for not really all that much money, like Rabbitstick in Rexburg, Idaho, every September.
There you go.
Or any of the gatherings, really, the vast majority of the gatherings are really, really good. So really, I mean, first of all, a little weird, but, you know, try to stay off the YouTube as much as possible. It's really like finding a...
it's really hard.
It's really like finding a silver dollar in a pile of crap.
It is.
But this channel's great, and a lot of other channels are great. But
Like Larry Roberts.
was it Michael Scott? Yeah, Larry has a channel. Yeah, whatever. Was it Michael Scott on The Office who's like, hey, you know, the best thing about the internet is that everyone can put things on there, so you know you have the very best information.
Yeah.
So like that has taken a step back in some cases, but like it gets people outside usually or sometimes, and then the next step from there is really just getting your hands dirty. Like go to the woods, spend a lot of time outside, and get a mentor who's willing to teach you lots of things. These folks are good. They're not that busy even on a daily basis. So getting someone,
give them phone calls.
and there's a bunch of people out here who like you don't even know about. Like they just live under rocks and then they come out for Rabbitstick. So there's so many people. Literally, yes.
Some of them literally, yeah. Matt Graham was living in a nurse lodge before he signed up for Discovery Channel. I visited him there a number of times, Hell's Backbone there in southern Utah.
Yeah.
So I can kind of clarify a little bit. Rabbitstick is a yearly gathering that's been going on for 26 years?
29,
I think it's 29. It's next year's 30, I believe.
Yeah. So it's been going on for a long time, almost as old as I am.
I still remember 20. It was like yesterday.
I keep calling this the primitive Super Bowl. Because, like, I'm going to share a Dave Holliday story. He was talking to me about he's a good dude. He was talking to me about being a one-eyed man in the land of the blind, okay? And I was like, but you're Dave Holliday. But he expresses a point, because there are other people that are far beyond his skill set. And I, around here, feel like I'm a junior varsity, because there's so many people here that are so incredibly educated and good at so many different things. Like, if you really want to learn, this would be the place to go. This one, Rabbitstick, Winter Count. There's so many. I mean, I'm going to look at you for stuff on the East Coast, because I don't know what's out there. This is like right next to my home area. But
Who's from the East Coast?
Not sure.
Well, further east than
Oh wait,
Maine.
no. I have done stuff in like Maine and stuff.
East
so
of
maybe that's the
Colorado to me is the East Coast. I know that's totally blasphemy. But
I'm in Lincoln, Nebraska, so East Coast.
yeah, East Coast, totally
the
Nebraska.
the East River of the Missouri River.
But the point is, there's a lot of gatherings out there that I want to know about. I mean, if you guys will send it to me, I'll put them in this video.
They're on my resource list. If you go to NicoleApelian.com, in my resource list, I have a list of the gatherings and a link to them all across the country.
Perfect. So I will drop that in the discussion box on this video. Perfect. Okay. So guys, if someone was going to go do something like this, what would they do? Like, point them in the right direction. Let's talk equipment. What equipment do you want to get? What skills do you want to get? You know, how would you start all this stuff out? For some newbie, let's say you know nothing, right? And they come to you and say, I want to go live in the wild, be it the desert, the mountain, whatever. Where do they start?
Learn the simple basics of fire, shelter, water, the basic skills of survival first. Go out, practice them. Do not be afraid to fail.
Yeah.
Do not be afraid to fail.
Unless it's like poisonous.
Yeah.
Or mushrooms.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't eat anything. If you don't know what it is, don't stick it in your mouth.
But failure's how you learn.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how we all learn. You fail a trap, you try it again,
Failing
you
at both
fail
ends,
it, you
okay.
try it again, you fail and you fail and you fail until you perfect it and you get it.
Failure.
Yeah, I think it's really important to try things and fail at them, because that's how you learn. I mean, none of us are sitting here because we succeeded every time we did something.
Except
We're
for
sitting
Larry.
here. We're sitting
Second
here.
place. Woo!
I'm sorry, except for Larry's mouse.
Yeah.
All right.
Can I talk now?
Yeah, go ahead. You're good.
Oh no, I'm all smiley. I gotta get rid of that. Okay. I mean, people are you learn how to do these skills because you try them and you don't succeed all the time. And by failing, you try them a different way. You learn them better. I think you learn skills better if you don't get them right the first time. Because if you get them right the first time, you think, yeah, I know that, and you move on.
Right.
But when you fail at it, you think, oh, I got to work at this, and then you work at it, and you work at it, and you work at it until you finally succeed. And then once you get that success, then you start learning from other
But
people
you're
about,
happy.
yeah,
You're more driven,
yeah, and then you also learn from other people. It opens you up for learning. Well, I did it this way and it worked, so you share that with someone and say, oh, well, I do it this way. And you think, oh, cool, let me try that. And then you learn all these different techniques, so you get all
guys are
these
sharing
tools in your
mouse
tool
recipes.
bag. Yeah. You like the teeth or no teeth? Yeah.
I just boiled mine. I like boiled mouse. For sure. I don't like them fried over the fire. I like them boiled.
Yeah.
I like them boiled and I like them dead. I like dead mice.
Not necessarily in that
A lot
order.
of dead
But
mice.
ching.
Nice.
So the other thing I wanted to throw in there is, you were asking about learning and all that. I think that an obstacle that people have in these newer generations that I'm getting to be an old fart, we didn't have, is a certain amount of like innocence in a bad way. So people look at a YouTube video and some guy says something and they believe it and they say, oh,
They
this
don't
works.
know any better.
This works.
Yeah.
And then they believe that they don't need to practice it. Just by seeing it once on YouTube, if
absolutely
they ever
not.
need it, they're fine. Okay, that's a huge mistake. The first mistake is believing a guy on YouTube when, anybody is on YouTube a lot, which would not be me, but, once in a while, you literally see a guy that's talking about a skill he just saw in another YouTube video.
That
So
hurts me.
that's not how it works. What do like old farts like me believe in? We believe in a culture of reputation. And that's what people have kind of forgotten to find. But if you come to Rabbitstick here, all you have to do is ask some questions and say, if I was going to prepare myself to go out in the desert, if I asked a question here in this camp, like I asked 3 people, what's the best mentor to go out in there's no doubt in hell that they would not all point me to David Holiday.
Holiday. Yeah.
There's it's impossible. Nothing else will come unless it's a student that doesn't know jack.
Doesn't know.
Right? Anybody that knows anything will point you in the right direction. But you have to come here, you have to leave YouTube at home, all these ideas, and find a guy and get dirt time. Just get dirt time. Go out there, freeze your stuff off, get
No bad
cold,
words, I
get
gotta
hot,
edit.
sweat, get tired, sleep on hard ground so that next day you'll make a better bed. Burn yourself with a fire so next day you make some tongs to get the coals out. All these little things basically pay the price of discomfort and be ready to do that. And you will not ever do that at home in front of a YouTube video. It's just not going to happen for you. You need to build some character. If you look at the show, people in the end are failing mostly mentally.
Yeah. They just.
If it was life and death, every one of us would have been able to go further. Really, frankly, if there was no button,
Yeah.
everybody would have gone probably another 3 weeks at least until you die, right? So nobody was really right there at the door of death. We just at some point faced a day that was just too much. But basically it was in the mind, right? So unless you get jumped by a mountain lion and you're bleeding out, or like Mary Kate had to be taken out. That's an obvious one. But other than that, really all of us, you hit a point where the mind is the thing. And that's another thing. YouTube cannot train you into having character.
No.
Yeah. My generation, we still remember these rites of passage. That's actually one of my talks here. These rites of passage where you put yourself in a position to build character. That's seems like a forgotten aspect of the whole thing. Like the younger folks seem to think that it's all what Nicole calls the hard skills. Like if you know how to make a boulder fire, you will be fine.
No.
Well, if your fingers are so numb because it's cold that you have to balls up to make that boulder fire, unless you have that character, you will surrender.
You know what happens when you talk about David Holiday?
Speak of the devil, man.
Come here, Dave.
Seriously.
Hey, come here. This is like my brother from
seriously
another
perfect
mother.
timing.
Come here. This is like my older brother right here.
Come
And-
join us.
No, he doesn't need an introduction because he's way more famous than me. But this is the man. So if you want to have it on your channel, if anybody ever wants to go out in the desert in this continent, this is the man. Don't forget YouTube. Go knock on this guy's door. He lives in a canyon in a little cabin he built in the middle of nowhere, and he'll take you out the desert. If you're not careful, he'll take you out right there and then with what you are wearing. Let's go out. Just take me to the desert. Okay, let's go out. He walk out with you out of the right now. The first night you just sleep with what you're wearing. That's David
You
Holliday.
convince my wife it's a good idea, and we'll be doing it. Yeah.
We normally manage to convince her.
Yeah.
Right? I sweet talk her into lending me David.
Yeah.
For a while. I was for a whole month with a troublemaker kid in the desert with David Holliday is one of the highlights of my life. Honest to God, I mean that's that was.
I prayed and begged for help every night, and he showed up about day 15. And I thought, oh man, I shouldn't have prayed.
That's what you get. That's what you get.
Yeah.
Oh boy! And then we were another month out, and that was an intense experience.
Yeah.
Got lots of pictures of that. Yeah, that was fun.
Thank you.
We were just talking about you.
Well, I didn't know that. I was coming over to listen to you guys talk.
Yeah. No, there's great mentors, and there's guys like Morris Kohansky. If you want to learn about the boreal forest, there is a man alive that knows more about the boreal forest than the forest gods themselves. I mean, this guy's a walking encyclopedia.
Right. He thinks I'm great because he doesn't know anything about where I hang out, and I think he's amazing because I don't want to go where he.
Yeah, he's something. He's something. So there's people like that, like real legends out here, except that they're really humble. They wouldn't tell you, but everybody knows. It's not, it's not a secret. So just come to the gatherings and meet these guys. This is the guy that the big experts go to and spend 2 weeks before they go and film their own things that everybody, millions of viewers, see, right? Actually, you were
my job is
featured with these guys.
my job is to make them look good.
There you go.
Weren't you Bear Grylls' mud applicator? That was your job.
A few other things besides. Yeah, I have
Yeah.
to mess up his T-shirt so he looked like he slept outside.
Yeah.
Hey, we're not supposed to talk like
Let's
that.
not go there. Let's not go there, maybe.
Because everything. Let me say this. Everything I made fun of him for, they tricked me into doing on No Man's Land. Everything I put him down for, I ended up being just as foolish sometime within 2 years of bad mouthing him. So watch who you bad mouth because you'll have to copy that behavior.
There's your karma.
Yeah, there's your karma.
That's awesome.
Anyway, we should just go out with David in the desert.
Oh yeah. Looking
I would
forward
love
to that.
that. I would love that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anybody.
That's-
You know, I'm game. Bring
Hey.
the camera.
So I think the only real, honestly, being the YouTube person, I think the value is it gets people to know what exists and where it exists. It lets people live vicariously because a lot of times you have jobs that you hate that you just can't get out, right? And the only way you can deal with that, and at least for me sometimes, is to go watch Larry, go watch him eat a mouse, go watch her slay fish and then turn them free. Right?
Sweetie.
So, and then you can live vicariously in a short amount of time. And then I think another really good thing is it lets you know weird things exist, like a piston lighter, right? It teaches you that it's there so that you can get off the couch, so that you can go to the gatherings, so that you can spend time with your friends outside, away from the technology, and learn with hands-on.
Yeah, I think the good thing is it inspires people to try. Just if they see that somebody is able to pull it off, like say like Larry made a boulder of fire one-handed. I think that's a feat.
Yeah.
I have never tried it really myself. But if you have a broken arm, I would probably do a different friction fire. But if you had a broken arm and you wanted to make this guy's video, it's just giving you the idea that it can be done as opposed to having a sprained or broken arm and surrendering, saying, oh, okay, friction fire is out of the question now. Now I have to just sit here in the cold. So giving you the idea that it can be done, that there is a possibility, I think that's the service of YouTube. Right
I was dancing at a reggae dance once, having a blast.
That's how a good story
During one of the breaks, one of the breaks, this big, huge Hawaiian dude jumps off the stage and runs out in the crowd and picks me up. You're that guy on TV. You're that guy on TV. And I go, yeah. Which one you talking? And he says, you're that desert guy. And I go, oh yeah. And he says, that's my favorite show. Me and my son, we watch it every day. And he said, they came to Hawaii and they tried to do stuff, but we learned that they were bogus. But we learned a lot about the desert. And I'm like, I didn't want to say that it was bogus in the desert too. I realized that the things that inspired him were things he would have never known about at all. And so I was looking at it from a perspective of, wanting everything to be like educative, and some people they just need a spark, and the rest they need to go find out for themselves.
Yeah.
And so the Hawaiians and his friends, they got sparked by something that I didn't think was the highest quality, but they got what they needed.
Yeah.
And so maybe there is this get off the couch and go do something rather than
If it gets them out, it's
read
good.
about it or talk about it or text about it. So
I think
if it
there's
gets
a lot
somebody
to
to get
that.
off their behinds and go move.
Well, and I think,
Yeah.
so I'm from a town a couple hours that way.
Uh-huh.
And here I am, 38 years old. This is the first time I've been to this gathering.
Oh, wow.
Hold it on.
So when I was a kid, I met Dave Westcott, and I'd heard about it, but it wasn't ever an opportunity.
Right.
And because of the fact that it's, for lack of a better term, underground, I'm trying to fix that.
Okay.
So I think the best thing that we can do is to share it on the social media, but then
Promote
it
it, yeah.
takes someone with one foot in both
Well,
worlds.
it's right. It doesn't
Yeah.
need fixing so much
No,
as
it
it
just
needs
needs
to start in
exposed.
other people.
Yeah.
Westcott, when he started, well, Larry Olson started the first Rabbitstick in '68 in Spanish Fort Canyon, I think it was. And then Westcott revived it and brought it back, what, in '89, '90? Well, now there's 38 of these gatherings in the United States. I don't know if there's any in the rest of the world, but it needs to
It needs to grow.
needs to grow. This doesn't need to grow. The rest of the places need to have one of these. Every neighborhood needs one of these, or every area. So that was, and he always said, we're not looking to teach people so they need to come back to us. We're trying to create competitors. Teach well enough that everybody can learn this that wants it. So this is about giving
Just
away
share-
something that
just
belongs
share
to
the
everybody already. It's our heritage. Everybody on the planet, no matter what color you are, no matter what shape your ears or what kind of hair you have, or whatever your background, you're from a group of people that knew a lot, that lost a lot, and had to regain it over and over again. And so this is, I was saying, this is the Stone Age skills movement that we started. And this Navajo guy goes, so you're the guys that started the Stone Age, huh? And I go, okay, we're the white revival of Stone Age skills, and it's catching on to the rest of the
It is
cultures
catching
right now.
on.
Yeah.
It's nice, and I think that point's really good that it's
Yeah.
on all of our ancestry.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
these skills aren't necessarily Native American
Right.
skills. They're in all of our background,
Right.
whether you're from
Right.
Asia or Europe or wherever it is that you're from. These are all skills that our ancestors used.
Yep.
And so it's important that we can bring all these things back, and it just revives, like it resparks something internally in you when you really get back to the land and back to these skills. It's really, I think it creates happiness. To
Yes.
be honest,
Yes.
I really do.
Absolutely.
Works on you.
Works on me, Dave.
Yeah.
Anything works on Nicole.
Yeah, well,
she's happy
she ends
from
up
seeing a
working
car
on
go by.
everybody else, so it works on everybody. Yeah.
So I'm in a position where I get questions. I get questions from private messages and then the bottom of my channel. And I see these trends, okay? And I can only assume that there's people with these trends that are looking for the same answers. Because the type of people I'm going to see on my channel are primitive or survival. That's really the majority of what I see. And the one I get the most is people are overwhelmed. How do they eat an elephant? My reply is always one bite at a time, right? So with something like this, where do you start? What's the best thing? What's the most bang for your buck right now? If you were to go out and learn a skill, fire. Okay,
Come to a gathering.
come together.
Come together and find a mentor in your area, or somebody that has been to gatherings at least, and find out. Do your homework. Find out about people's reputations. Like, go back to a culture of reputation. I'm really big on that.
Yeah.
Find out. Ask a number of people, and then they'll let you know.
You have to find good mentors. And then
Yeah.
dirt time. You got to do it. You got to be out there doing it. You just have to keep trying,
Right. Try it.
failing, trying again.
Try it.
Yeah.
The one for me, I work primarily with kids kindergarten through 4th grade, and then lots of other ages, but it's like making sure they're not afraid of the woods.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that gets
Yeah.
inherited into the older people too.
Right.
They're like, oh my goodness, I am gonna get eaten by a wolf or a cougar, and the only cougar that's ever attacked me was in a shopping mall.
Yeah.
So, like, just taking folks out. This is the forest. It's fun. It's safer than the city.
Right. It really is
Welcome.
way safer. Right.
I think
Right,
that's so
right.
good. That perceived risk, right?
Uh-huh,
I mean, it's so, being out in Vancouver Island was not dangerous, you know? I mean, there's that thing of fear around that. Like, I was never fearful out there at all. It was much more dangerous for me to drive from Oregon out here to Idaho for Rabbitstick. Much more dangerous for me driving in that car.
The only scary
than
part
being
was
on
the
a
weird
Vancouver
music
island.
and the voiceovers they put on.
That part was scared the heck out of me.
Statistic too. So from wolves, more people have been killed in the history of the selfie picture, like the last 4 years, than in the history of North America recorded.
Now I can't take a selfie.
So more people have like fallen off the
That's a great
Great Wall of
statistic.
China taking pictures of themselves than have been eaten by wolves.
Right.
In all of history.
And all of history. So that's a good one. That's a great
That's a great statistic.
Yeah.
It's kind of sad.
I'm going to bring up the man that started this movement in the West for sure, and probably in the East also. And his name's Larry Dean Olson, and he was a potato farmer from Idaho. And he perceived, with a lot of other people during the late 50s, early 60s, that we were losing touch with who we are as people because we were growing up out of the wild. Ended up having people growing up in the city their whole lives. And that had never happened to that degree before. Everybody had an uncle or an aunt that had a farm back during the Depression. And at the turn of the century, everybody had just left the wild. And so we were the first group of post-war people that started having no contact for huge periods of time, where your only experience was going to the park or going to the zoo. So you had no outdoor experience. And so they started noticing that we were losing a lot as a culture. And so people started thinking about how to revive that, and Outward Bound came out of those movements. The Nolzadals came out of that movement. Bunches of movements started saying, well, how can we get people back connected with who they really are? And Larry Olson was the first one to say, well, what about our Stone Age heritage that's common to all of us? How can we introduce that into what they would call a therapeutic model? So he didn't use that language. He just said, it seems like when you go out that way with even less modern made-up gear and depend on your own skill set from wild materials, that it does something to you that sort of changes your perspective of who you are as a human being. So it might do more to us than anything else. We're the ones that are being healed. I don't think it's messing nature up so bad. It's messing up those who don't go into nature and don't practice the skills. And so if you want to get well as a human being, do what your ancestors did at least once in a while.
Can you mention his book?
Larry Dean Olson was the first guy to come up with a book that made sense and had pictures of all the plants you could eat in the West, and they were clear and identifiable, and he just cleared up a lot of mysteries, and it's called Outdoor Survival Skills, Brigham Young University Press.
I will leave a link to that in the bottom.
Yep, good.
Nature is such a healer. I mean, not just physically, but mentally. And if you're connected with nature, you're going to be a centered, happy person.
Yes.
I don't see how you can't be. You connect you more to yourself, it connects you to other people, and connecting back to nature is so important. And it's so good that I feel like shows like this that we're doing. Fine, yes, there's editing and there's things maybe that we don't love about it, but I think these shows are actually, I know it's inspiring kids. I've gotten so many messages from people and children and families just saying pictures of kids making gill net, and even if they're in their living room or building a shelter in their yard. And I love that it's sparking more interest in this. So I think it's helping the movement of getting more people back to nature and getting outside. That's just a great thing.
Right.
Have you got mousetraps, Larry? Kids mousetraps pictures? I got mousetraps too.
Oh, mousetrap pictures? No, I don't think so.
People are like, my kid said a mousetrap, and it's like a stick and a rock. And the best thing is when the parents buy a mouse at the pet store and then they stick out. I'm just kidding. No, I think they get a real little tiny mousetrap and put the mouse in there.
Oh, well.
Larry inspired.
Yeah. No. I've gotten a lot of messages and stuff about people saying stuff, and some are good or some are bad, but
Leave it at
it was a lot of fun.
I don't know you real well, but I really like the part about not having to go too far to pee. Is you the guy that figured out who figured out how to make a?
I did make one of those though.
Okay,
I just didn't film it.
Okay.
I had it stuck out the side of my shelter the whole time. I was like, I rock. This is
Being
awesome.
able to sleep well is a big deal, and that helps.
And you don't have to get your raincoat on and your raincoat to go out. Oh hell yeah.
Well, I like that.
Dude, I was.
I know. It's like, man, I just pissed in the dirt.
I was surprised Justin Justin did that too. I was like, oh, I'm totally the only one that thought of this. This is awesome. I'm like, Justin, damn it.
Awesome. All right, guys. Well, I hope this has been valuable to you. I want you to check out Larry's channel, Larry Roberts. Okay.
That's it.
Make sure you say name right again. Larry Roberts. Okay. Your channel name was Nicole Apelian?
Nicole Apelian. Yep.
Okay. You guys got channels?
I'm
No?
Samuel Larson. That's
Samuel
my.
Larson?
That's what my mother named me, and father.
So I will leave links to all this stuff in the discussion box down in the bottom. If you have questions, leave them there. It sometimes gets overwhelming. I will answer them. You guys, please feel free to jump on there should you feel the need. And thank you. Thank you for sharing this. Thank you for doing all this stuff. All right, guys, hit the subscribe button. Thanks for watching TJX Survival.
Thank you. All right. Thank you.
Do you have a channel?
Hey, look at
He
this
doesn't know what a
guy.
computer is
Yeah.
yet.
I don't have a channel. Yeah, I'm gonna have a channel.
I'm working on it.
Hey.
Oh.